So, I've been thinking about a question that at first sounded so simple, but then the more I sat with it, the more complicated it became. Where is the line between a lie and hope? Because if I'm really honest, I found myself in plenty of situations where I believed in something, whether it was a relationship or a person, a job, an outcome, maybe even myself, and I called it hope, only to look back later and wonder, what was I actually seeing? Was it reality? Or was I just telling myself a story because the truth was too uncomfortable, too hard to swallow? And the tricky part is that hope and denial can feel almost exactly the same while you're in the trenches of them.
I generally sit on the other side of that line. Our viewers probably know me as the resident skeptic, bordering on cynic. But it's not that I don't believe in hope. It's more that I'm hesitant to buy into it until I've seen at least some compelling evidence that something is not just possible, but plausible and practical, not just delusion. So, where is that line? Somewhere in the middle of nihilistic cynicism and reckless, willful ignorance, is there a balance of healthy skepticism and hope that can be straddled? I like to think so, but what is the right balance and how do you find it?
We're also wrestling with a bigger question underneath all of this. What does healthy hope actually look like? Because becoming cynical and trusting nobody isn't the answer, but neither is convincing yourself that everything will magically work out if the evidence says otherwise. So, how do you know when hope is grounded in reality? When is it worth hanging on and fighting for something? And when does holding out become the very thing keeping you stuck? I don't know if we'll solve it, but we're definitely here to wander around in it. Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom.
I'm Callie.
I'm Cole.
I'm Mom. So, how do you tell the difference between a lie and a hope? And
I
why
don't
is it
know.
hard?
It certainly is hard. And I think, you've got that old adage about hindsight is 2020 that you can sit back and look and say, "Oh, gosh, I was being so ridiculous. I was doing this. I was thinking this. Here's how I rationalized that away?" But I think that when you really kind of boil all of those emotions down, hope and denial feel really similar.
They can look really alike.
I wonder how much of that is my brain. I wonder how much of that is my brain lying to me because we know our brains don't want to be wrong, right? How much of that is my brain marketing to me? Callie, this will be fun. Ignore all of the red flags. Callie, this will be better. And I just start thinking about whether or not it's my brain's way of also trying to protect me. I don't want to go
I,
through that hard thing. This is going to be easier. Let's just go with that, you know?
I mean, I think sometimes that's true. And I think sometimes we just simply lie to ourselves because maybe it is because we have hope for the outcome, or, I mean, because we want it to be a certain way. So we tell ourselves things that aren't quite exactly true.
I also think that it's a lot easier to see in somebody else from an outside perspective than it
Sure.
is for ourselves to see in ourselves, right? Like, dad has that saying that he talks about all of the time. You're expecting a rational response from an irrational person. I think that that's oftentimes, especially after somebody points it out to me, where I go, shoot, I totally am. What I am waiting for is never, ever going to come to fruition. This is never going to happen. I don't think I'm always as good at being introspective sometimes in those moments to say, Callie, you're expecting a rational response from you who is acting irrationally.
I don't know if it's so much irrational as it's, y- we want an outcome. We see, I mean, think about a relationship that you've been involved in, that you want that relationship to be solid. You want it to be good. And sometimes it just isn't. But and I think women are worse about this. We tell ourselves these things hoping that it will get better or be better, or that we're looking at it wrong. And I think the opposite is true too. I mean, sometimes we literally lie to ourselves. He's going to love me in the end. He's going to be who I want him to be in the end. or, the dog's not gonna bite me, or all of those kinds of things that we do. And I'm not quite sure how you tell the difference when you're in the moment.
Well,
Evidence.
I think that that's part of it, but I also think you have to take into consideration a little bit of the sunk cost fallacy in all of this, right? Like,
Sure.
I have invested time into this outcome that I want. I've invested emotions and feelings and brain power, all of these different things. I have given up that. I want this. And those things tend to be harder to let go of. We've already put all that effort in.
You talk about evidence, boo, but all three of us have been in jobs that we should have gotten out earlier. And how do you weigh that evidence when you're right there? I mean, because I know you have that conversation with yourself. This is, you know, I'm getting paid okay. I'm local. I'm not having to commute. I mean, we can talk ourselves into it.
Much
So
easier than talk ourselves out of it.
where's the evidence? How do you weigh the evidence of something like that? How do you weigh the evidence if it's kind of six of one and half a dozen of the other? May not be good for you, but it's not hurting you really bad.
It's not hurting you really bad.
Is that a delusion? Is that the lie?
But I
Mm,
think that from that personal perspective, like, it's really hard to tell the difference.
I mean, you make it sound like the evidence is really easy to obtain, but I'm not sure it always is.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying like it's not just this, oh, every situation you walk into, you immediately have all of the facts and you can weigh them. But that is the answer to the question of how do you tell the difference? I know my answer was very matter of fact, but the reality is that it's not that easy.
Yeah. And I think sometimes that delusion or whatever you self deception that it sometimes that's protective. I mean, you don't want somebody to think that you're stupid. You don't, want
Right. But
want to invite somebody's comment. You do that. So you just tell yourself the story.
let me see if I can make this analogy make sense. You're in a pit with a lion. Behind you is a ladder. In front of you is a shield. Which one do you go for?
I
Yeah,
think
the
that there's
shield
a
protects you.
I think that there's a
Sure.
case made for either one. What situation is the lion in? Is he sleeping? I'm gonna go for the latter. Let me very quietly sneak out of here. Is he
Yeah.
actively coming at me? I'm probably not as fast as he is, so getting up the ladder is gonna be a harder sell.
And see, my brain was going, I'm going to grab both because that way I can bop him with the shield while I'm trying to get up the ladder. It was a nice
Let me
analogy.
reiterate this analogy. There is a lion charging you. Behind you is a ladder. You have enough time to make it up the ladder, or you have enough time to pick up the shield and take on the charging lion. Well, the shield protects you,
For a
but
minute.
does it really?
Yeah. I mean, dang it, I hate it when you come up with really good analogies like that.
But again, I think that we've talked about this based on my own personal situations and various situations throughout my life. It is so easy to sit here and say, "Oh, I'm definitely gonna go and give me up the ladder."
Sure.
Until you're in that situation and you're just like, "I don't have faith in myself. I don't trust that I can make it up this ladder, and then I'm just gonna fall right into his mouth. I gotta grab the shield and then hope that
Yeah.
I can hold him off in the process."
Yeah.
But if you can't make it up the ladder, do you think you can fight a lion with a shield?
So are you just supposed to accept defeat and call it a day? Just lay down and be like, "Here, eat me."
If you don't have faith in yourself to make it up in the ladder, how do you have faith in yourself to fight off a lion with a shield?
You know what, boo? That's a part of it, though, is having the faith in yourself to be able to
Sure.
tell yourself the truth.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at here.
I
And
wish
and
it
I'm
was
not saying
easy.
it's easy.
I just don't know
Yeah.
that it's always that clear and cut and dry.
Sure, but that's the point of the analogy. But we have already able to witness that this analogy has gotten real muddy real fast.
Mhm.
Like there is a clear obvious choice, In the moment, do you make the clear, obvious choice, or do you make the one that your brain tells you makes the most sense?
I think in my experience, you do the one that you're most comfortable with. That's the choice that you make. If you are a ladder climber, you're going to take the ladder and run and go. Do your very best to get up there. This is what I know. This is my muscle memory. This is what I do. If you
What if
happen to
you've
be
never
a,
climbed a ladder and you've never picked up a shield?
I don't know that you'll know until you're in that situation and the lion is
Yeah.
charging you and the ladder's behind you.
Exactly. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make.
What do you
Oh,
mean?
In hindsight, there is one clear choice, period. If you have
But
all of the information, all of the facts, which choice leads you to safety, period.
but that
the
doesn't
latter.
mean that that's the reality in the moment. It doesn't mean that that's what your brain is telling you is the reality in the moment.
I understand that. That I'm agreeing with you.
I just don't think it's that cut and dry.
I think a lot of times it isn't, and I'm with you, Callie. I think our brain tells us a story. Our brain looks for the easiest, simplest answer. And if our heart is involved, and sometimes that can skew things. I mean, I keep thinking about the abused woman who doesn't leave. And it has to be, she knows that she's being abused. Uh, Maybe she can convince herself that she's not.
I don't think it's that she's convincing herself that she's not. I think it's that she's convincing herself that this might be the only option. This
This may
might be
be
the
the only
best
person who's gonna
option.
love me. I can't do it on my own. I mean, there's lots of things you say to yourself.
No one is going to believe me if I get out of this.
I
Yeah.
deserve it.
Yeah. And so I think that there's a lot more questions than this or that have to be answered and to address and taken into consideration and addressed. That's why I am very adamant about, and it doesn't matter the situation, but until you're in the situation, you have no idea what you're going to do.
I disagree with that part. The vast majority of the time, I do think it's simpler than that. I think it's difficult for us to see it as simpler than that. And that's the whole hindsight is 2020.
Maybe.
So, can a lie be unconscious?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. I mean, we know that our brain lies to us unconsciously all the time.
I mean, how many times have you sat there and somebody asked you a question and you answer it and then you sit there and go, "Why did I say that?"
Several times a day.
Mm,
Not out of malice, just, "Why did I go there?" That's not
yeah,
even the truth. That doesn't
yeah.
even make sense.
So, is there a point where hope becomes delusional? Is it always
Sometimes.
delusional?
I don't think hope is always delusional. I think hope can lead to delusion.
How do we know? I know you're gonna say evidence.
I think that that's where community comes in, right? Like,
Sometimes.
Oh,
I think for me, again, that's the only perspective that I have here. But I think for me, like, there are certainly moments in time where I go, I don't know. I think this. I'm really convinced of this. And then all of a sudden, everybody around me who loves me and cares for me and doesn't have the same 100% perspective that I do into this situation that I'm living might come in and give a different alternative perspective. Callie, that doesn't make sense. Callie, that doesn't add up. Callie, you're allowed to feel that way. That's weird. That's not normal. That's unacceptable. And so I think that that's when you start leaning on your community of people. And so then when you've got even just a tiny mustard seed, if you will, of doubt in your brain, then you start watering it with the people around you who you trust. I think that that's how you leverage your community.
I think that you can also have a community that will give you false hope. And so I think you
Sure.
Yeah.
have to.
Shared delusion exists as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That makes me think of a couple of things.
Do you think that we address these things differently, Mom, from our generation to yours? Do you think that we look at hope and fear and faith and turbulence differently?
I don't think it's a generational thing. I do think that there are people who can sometimes have enough faith. And then I think there are people who have this, who think they're supposed to have this kind of faith or faith about this, and they don't and can't and haven't, but they can convince themselves that they do. And so I don't think that's generational, though. Maybe my generation was more exposed to faith than yours has been, but I don't think it's really generational. I
So
think we are all capable of telling ourselves big whopping lies
oh, totally.
because it just feels better sometimes.
I think that we can handle it differently. I think
As a
that
millennial?
yeah, I think that that has to do with the world around us. I'm sitting here going back to the abused woman. I mean, until what, 1963, it was like spousal rape was legal in every state in this country. Nothing a woman could do about it. I could be wrong on the year, but I think it was something around there. And I want to say, I know for sure that the last state to adopt a spousal rape policy was in 1993. And so now my generation and beyond specifically has started looking at it differently. We're not tolerating this. We're not allowing this. We will do whatever it is that we need to do. And I mean, don't you see the videos? I see videos all of the time online of they're always a setup, which kind of feels bad to me. But it's the women who do their hand to say, like, hey, there's a problem here. I don't need to be here. I'm unsafe in this situation. And watching people. I mean, they'll touch several people of all different races, creeds, ages, and who steps up every single time? Young people. I know what that means. Get away. Get away from her. I will step in between you. I am much smaller than you, but we're doing this. We are not doing this anymore.
Hmm.
And that alone gives me a sense of hope. And then I think that we do handle things differently. I think that our tolerance levels are different. I think that we're more willing to hold people to account.
You might, that tolerance level may also not be of service to you because you can tolerate more.
We've
So
had to.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that y'all handle it better.
I think that that's one of the original conversations that we've had in starting this podcast. Millennials have had a rough go of it. We've had a really tough row to hoe. And part of that, I think the byproduct is that we have become more tolerant to different views and outlooks and perspectives, that we have become more tolerant and more accepting even of difference in some ways. I think that that's a little bit of a stretch in today's day and age with everything as polarizing as it is right now, politically especially. I mean, but think about it. You had a whole group of people, a whole group of women starting in 2017, standing up saying, we're starting the Me Too movement. We're not doing this anymore. We're not making this acceptable anymore. Can you imagine what that would have looked like if had somebody stepped up and told Don Draper in the 1960s, that 1970s, that womanizing is not allowed? And we're going to call you out from a public stage in front of a huge platform of people to say, nope, try again, buddy.
I don't know, Cal. I mean, I sit here and I think of trad wives and what they think they're getting or what they think they're promoting, and I'm not convinced that that's hope. I'm convinced that that's kind of are are young men who think that they can, get involved in the church and find the kind of woman that they're looking for. I mean, there's some delusions out there.
I'm not saying that there are not. I definitely think that there are some delusions. But I think that to a point, if you go and start talking to trad wives, like actual real life, not because it's a trend, trad wives, they are not what you think. The Ballerina Farms lady is one of
Mm.
the most hardworking women out there. She's starting businesses. Her husband is doing stuff for her. but they want to embrace a different lifestyle. I'm not sitting here saying trad wives are the best wives, like, but it works for them.
But
And so
see,
what's
I
wrong
don't
for that?
know that that's really a trad wife. And maybe that's my point. You're calling it a trad wife, but is she really?
What's a trad wife then?
Isn't that the woman that is gonna stay at home and only vote when her husband tells her that she can vote, and she's not gonna be in the workforce? She's gonna, be a traditional wife in this stay-at-home kind of manner, but that lady's not traditional. She's not June Cleaver.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't think you have the same definition of trad wife as what trad wives do.
yeah,
Oh,
I would
okay.
agree.
I think that's a topic for another day, but
Yeah.
Agreed.
and do delusions exist within that trend? I'm sure they do.
Yeah,
Delusions exist everywhere,
yeah.
but I don't think you can call like tradwifeism in and of itself delusional.
The embracing of traditional values, delusional.
Yeah, they're traditional values for a reason.
No, but I think for me, for her to say that she is a traditional wife isn't true.
But that's how she
She's an
started.
she's an entrepreneur, but it doesn't matter that that's how she started. She's still an entrepreneur.
Lots of traditional women were entrepreneurs.
I think that in the end, trad wife, there are multiple different kinds.
Sure.
And do I think that some of them could be described by the terms in which you're using, where they're submitting solely to their husband's authority? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think that that's a whole picture in and of itself. I
Yeah. I think it's kind of like some of the comments that we get on some of our shorts. We're talking
Yes,
about a little tiny piece of the picture. We can just see this one tiny little piece of it, and that's what we're commenting on without seeing the broader tapestry of what is happening.
right. I agree.
It's
I
two
agree
good ones for me
wholeheartedly.
today.
Nailed it. You're doing great. Keep it up. I also think like that in some ways millennials the vernacular is different. Millennials are trusting the process and putting it out there and manifesting it. And I think that
Are we?
I think some of us are.
So
I
you
think
give it
some
different
are.
terms and it means you're successful?
I don't think
Sometimes.
I think
I don't
that
think it
it
means that you're successful. I think it means
yeah.
that you're viewing it a different way. You're approaching it from a different angle.
Yes. Yes. But I think at the end of the day, the intention is the same as what your generation called having faith. I believe this. I'm going to surround myself with this. I'm going to continue reminding myself of this until it comes to fruition. That's an interesting question. I don't even know how you would measure that.
I don't know how you would measure it, but, I just think back to I mean, we always want a better world, and how many generations have had children and we've always wanted our children to have a better world than we do, but that sure as hell hasn't happened. So, is
But
that a hope or a
hasn't it?
delusion?
Is it really? Is it worse?
It's
In
not
some
better.
ways, yes. In some ways, it's better. I think that
That
it's a trade off.
yeah, that's just kind of existence. It is.
Mom,
N
this past year, I voted for a woman for president of the United States of America. Did your mom ever have that chance?
I mean, there have been other women who have run for president,
There have.
but,
In
I mean, this
2016, as a
this
major
one
ticket, yes.
this one actually got further and made some inroads. I mean, take it back to the subject. Was that false hope? I mean, can you tell me that after that election, you didn't think, I mean, will we never be able to vote for a woman for president? So is that hope or is that lies? Where's the evidence, Boo? I mean, the evidence points to that's not ever going to happen.
Does it? Or does it point to it didn't happen this time?
I think it's just a constant tightrope. No matter where you are in the timeline, you can fall off either side. You can fall off on the side of hope or fall off on the side of delusion and lies.
You know what? That may be really valid. Yeah, That may be really valid. That you can be walking a tightrope and one side is good and one side is dark and stormy, and you have the chance to go either direction.
You're still falling either way.
You're still falling. Yeah, yeah, it is. So,
But I think that if you kind of going into the analogy brain again, I think that if you sit here and focus on one side over the other, you're going to fall. It doesn't matter which side you focus on, you're going to fall. If you put more weight into one side or the other, you're going to fall.
yeah, that's probably true. So, so do you think things like red flags play into us telling ourselves one thing or the other?
I think
Sometimes.
I think our I think as millennials, we have a different vernacular to call it red flags versus green flags. I don't think that you have always called it that. And I think that those red flags and green flags, going back to the tightrope, that, I don't know, stick with buckets that you're carrying on each side, your hope buckets and your delusion/lie buckets. I think that those flags, to put them in the buckets, they weigh differently. I do not think that every green flag weighs the same as every red flag.
I don't think
I
every
would agree
red
with
flag
you.
weighs the same as every red flag.
I would
Yeah.
agree.
Also, side note here, Mom, this is a joke. Do not get mad at me. Her generation referred to them as omens. Now, after we came up with it,
My God. Arrogant much?
maybe just a little.
I mean, think back to this and something that I mean, this is the easy one. Think back to that girl or guy in high school that you had a crush on that you just ignored a lot of the
Oh, trust me,
reality about.
it went well past high school.
My point being, think about that relationship that because I mean, all of the things that you told yourself, good and bad. I mean, you convince yourself of all kinds of crap. Yeah, I'm too nerdy for her. She's too cute for me. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we say to ourselves that, again, I think come down to kind of red flags that we're not old enough at the time to interpret well.
Yeah.
So does
I
wisdom
think that,
have.
well, yeah, that's a huge part of it. But let's be perfectly honest. The three of us still skim over red flags.
I think that they had different names prior. It's a good sign. It's a bad sign. It's a
Oh,
good omen or a bad omen. Those are positive traits in that partner that you're looking for. Negative traits. I think that we weigh those things differently, whether they're signs in air quotes or flags of whatever color. I think that they're all weighed differently. I think that those weights are determined less by reality and more by your personal history, your upbringing, your boundaries,
Priority.
priorities, yes,
Yeah,
past experiences.
yeah, yeah. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think our generation has different red flags and green flags than your generation did. I think we handle them relatively similarly. I think we value those traits differently.
I agree. For example, if I'm on a dating app and you tell me that you're a conservative Christian, I'm probably not swiping right on you. In 1950, in 1975, when you were dating, if somebody came to you and said that they were a conservative Christian, that wasn't a red flag to you.
And there are lots
that's
of young women today that would not be a red flag for. I think it's less generational and more interpersonal, to be perfectly honest with you. I
Mm.
think the terms are generational, but my values and your values aren't necessarily the same. There are some things that we would align on and lots of things that we wouldn't.
Uh-huh.
And the same goes for every of the other almost 8 billion people on the face of this planet. And there are some people that I would align with more than others. Clearly, there are some people that I would align with more than either of you.
Uh-huh.
I may not know them. I probably know a few, but again, what to Callie is a red flag could be a green flag for me. And that's not necessarily good or bad. It just means that Callie's experiences are steering her away from this particular trait. My experiences are steering me towards that particular trait. And at the same time, either one of us could be delusional in that.
I was just going to go there for you. I mean, you have to wonder if that does make one of you delusional automatically. If they're interpreted so differently, does that make one of you wrong?
Cole's
Yeah,
volunteering to be
could,
the wrong one.
could.
I guarantee you Cole is not volunteering to be the wrong one.
I mean, I was there. But I mean, here's the thing. I know there are some traits in women that I find attractive that are not good for me. It just happens to be a thing.
I get that. I get that.
When do you think, or when do you think intuition comes into play? This is how I
Mm.
feel. This is what my gut's saying.
Constantly.
And how often do you think that you can realistically believe in it?
Trust your gut.
Ooh, man.
Mhm.
I think there
I
are
don't
some
think a
people who
lot
are
of
really
people
good
know
about that.
what their gut feeling actually feels like.
Yeah.
They may say they're going with their gut, but I don't know that they actually mean that or know what that means. Particularly in the modern world, I think they use the term intuition, and that is not what they are using, personally.
I would too. When do you think that changed? Did it change, or has
I
that
don't think it
historically
really
been the
did.
case?
I think that that's not unusual. I don't think that's much of a change personally.
Interesting. So
Again, though, I think that that's one of those things that we tell ourselves, convince ourselves of, and use it
For sure.
as a point of evidence.
as a point of evidence.
I don't know that you could ever measure this, but it would be so interesting to just see like a line graph of like successful intuition by generation, like the greatest generation,
Yeah.
the women who supported the country while millions of men were away at war fighting fascism and later communism. Was their intuition better than ours? Was it better than their kids, the boomers? Was it better or worse than the generation before them? Like it's really interesting to think about how could
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
possibly actually get a scientific measure of successful intuition? I don't know that you can,
I
I'm
bet
but it
even
would be
there's
wondering,
fascinating to see it.
yeah.
it would be fascinating. And I'm wondering if your exposure to social media and so much information makes you feel more intuitive falsely or
Mhm.
makes you more
Probably.
intuitive in reality.
I think it's probably the former personally.
I think you should figure out a way to measure that. That would be fascinating.
I'm sure it shows up on a brain scan of some kind.
Yeah,
Hey,
but
this part of your brain, your hippocampus just lit up. That means you're engaging it. This is where, because they can point and pinpoint, this is where your intuition is, this is where your nervous system, all of these things, like they can pinpoint those things. So I'm sure it shows up on a brain scan. But I think that you would have to start working through the metrics of not only did it show up, but it was correct.
yeah.
Yeah. Not just that
And
it
how do you go
lights
back
up.
and get that for all the previous generations? You can't.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe
Right.
you can measure it going forward and over a long. Everybody's getting Neuralinks. Sorry, guys, we got to figure this one out.
Oh,
But
God.
no, I mean, it would certainly be interesting
Mm-hmm.
to see that data set.
Oh, for
That's a cool
sure.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really curious about that one now. So, Gig, do you think your optimism plays in, negative
Yes.
or positive?
Yes. Both. Absolutely.
100%.
I think it absolutely plays in.
Cole, do you think your cynicism plays in?
Skepticism and
Skepticism.
absolutely, to be honest, both. Yes, 100%.
Do you feel differently, Mom?
About y'all's optimism and skepticism? No.
Yes.
I think it does play positive and negative. I don't think it makes either one of you if you were gonna do the test call, I don't think your skepticism is gonna put you ahead of being able to read situations
Accurately.
against Callie's optimism. I don't think so. I always say, there's for almost everything, there's point A and point B, and it's all in between all of that. And I think that comes to y'all where that skepticism, it's still just on this little wire, and how it works, it works. And Callie's optimism is the same. And so it's just where it is on the wire.
I think it's more in my brain, the way that I think about it is more like a magnet. It's a pull. There's this
Mm,
magnetism that pulls me towards optimism, towards that being the outcome, even when it's not always real. And that is not really something, God, this is going to sound so stupid, that I don't feel like that's really something that I can help, that I can change. That is the magnetism, right? The magnet is going to push or pull one way or the other. Mine may pull where Cole's pushes because of the cynicism or the skepticism, excuse me, versus the optimism, but it's still the same pull, push. It's the same force.
yeah, same magnetic. Hmm. That's interesting to think about.
To think that you're probably right, Mom, that it's in general, I don't know that one is necessarily more or less successful than the other. I think about it in terms of like, and I don't want to I don't want this to sound the way that it's going to sound, but it's almost like
Skeptical.
it's a numbers game. It's like quality versus quantity. Callie's optimism is going to draw her to more opportunities than my skepticism is. But my skepticism, the opportunities that I do take part in, may be more fruitful on like a per opportunity basis because of that skepticism. But in the long run, we both have a similar harvest because she's participating more.
I would agree.
Ah,
But I think the flip side of that coin is you're missing out on opportunities and
For
I
sure.
am getting hurt in opportunities.
For sure. And in the long run, I think that generally those will even out relatively. I mean, if you could be
interesting.
perfectly skeptical and not weed out opportunities that will be fruitful at the same time as avoiding all non fruitful opportunities, would that be a perfect world? Yes. Is anyone capable of that? I don't think so.
I agree.
So, how do we actually test if something is a hope or a lie?
Do you think you can?
Well, Cole says you can. He says
I
there's
mean,
evidence. But what if you
I
ignore
guess
the evidence?
I guess that that's
Then
probably
you're delusional.
I think that that's probably the first question. Is there evidence that I'm ignoring? I think that what is that deal? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
I think when you ask yourself real questions, they're harder to ignore, backpedal out of. Even if you lie to yourself, it still plants that seed of doubt and you have to really overcompensate in your brain to say, that's a lie, but I'm going to tell myself anyway. Like you can hear
Yeah.
it, you know.
I think if you find yourself avoiding parts of it or not telling your friends about some of it, that's significant evidence and you should start paying attention.
I agree. I agree. I
Okay.
think I have said about this podcast to lots of people. This has been for me, I'd be curious to see if you guys agree, but this podcast, having these kinds of conversations with you guys, has been such a great way for me to pressure test my own personal convictions. Kelly, are you taking this all into consideration? Are you coming at this with all of these blind spots? Are you ignoring things? Are you ignoring evidence? When I put it all out there and say it all out loud, it becomes a lot harder to hide things from myself. And so I just wonder if there's part of that that can be applied to this too. Pressure testing those things, asking the hard questions, having conversations, saying it out loud, walking through those lies that we tell ourselves. Challenge yourself, challenge the situation, challenge your beliefs. I mean, as a going back to the abused woman example, which I'm using because it's such a good example, a whole kind of all encompassing example. But at the end of the day, I am not judging women in those situations at all. even a little bit, just to make that very clear. But I think that if you were to be in one of those situations, and I have, and I get it, but I think when you sit down and start asking yourself hard questions, am I really going to end up alone? Is that worse than this? Is this really the best that I could ever do? I think that when you start becoming honest with yourself and asking those questions, quote unquote, out loud, that they become much harder to ignore.
And to go back to your community point, I think that's really, really hard to do by yourself.
Yeah, I think you can put yourself in a silo really easily and avoid asking or avoid getting involvement with anybody else. And we do that for a myriad of reasons. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want them to tell me something I don't want to hear.
Too late, you already do.
Yeah,
Did you just
to a
call
Not
me?
you
point. Yeah.
specifically. I'm talking about in in
I was
in
like, did
in the
he just call me
situation.
stupid?
No, I mean, but it's kind of, again, looking at it from the outside perspective, like, I don't wanna look stupid, so I'm gonna ignore all of this. Everybody around you can see all of it, and you're ignoring it, and you look stupid.
Yeah,
Been there, done
Been
that.
there. Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
absolutely. I think that it's helpful to remember that every other single person on the face of this planet has their own shit going on. And at the end of the day, talking about coal, human nature, blah, 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 we can't change any of that. The amount of time that other people are sitting here obsessing over all of these tiny incremental choices, thoughts, decisions that are going on in my life is so nominal. They're dealing with their own shit. They're
Yeah,
thinking about themselves.
they're not worried about you at all.
They don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think that we've kind of just got to be, again, be honest with ourselves and say, maybe I do look stupid, but I would rather look stupid for 5 minutes than for 5 years.
I was gonna say, is 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 asking yourself if you're just taking action or if you're just waiting, is that part of that reality test?
Probably. I don't know how you answer those questions, though. Sometimes, like, again, going back to the abused woman situation, what is taking action? What does that mean and look like? Does that mean I got to grab the kids and get out of here under the cloak of darkness? To go where? To do what?
Yeah.
Or do I need to wait for daylight to come? Do I need to wait and try and have a conversation with him? I mean, like, I think that I think that it depends.
Yeah. And you talked about having a conversation, but, we can have that conversation and refuse to hear what's being said.
Absolutely. We all
And
do
That's
it.
delusion.
yeah, and so to me, that's more of I'm just waiting. I'm not willing to hear the truth. I'm just gonna sit here. I don't wanna hear the truth. I don't wanna talk to my friends about this.
I mean, here's the thing. Very rarely is it as simple as an on-off switch. Oh, I'm gonna stop being delusional.
Right.
Yeah,
If it worked like that, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
yeah, but it
But
just
if we
doesn't
could
work like
figure
that.
out a way for it to work like that, we're writing a book and we're making millions. Turn off your delusion. It'd be a number one New York Times bestseller
There's probably
if it
already
actually
one out
worked.
there.
Yeah, dozens, I'm sure.
And they sound
Mhm.
delusional already. I don't even know who they are and they sound delusional.
I mean,
But
really, here the only way to for that to be a thing is to allow something else to make your decisions for you. And then you have to rely on it not being delusional.
Don't go to AI is what you're
I was
saying.
gonna say, here's AI.
But I mean, seriously though,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that that goes back to some of those situations that we're talking about. You're talking about community. If you're even saying, hey, AI is part of my community, okay, cool, fine. But how often has AI lied to you? How often has AI hallucinated and given you answers that were not true or accurate or real just because that's what you wanted to hear?
all the time. Like
All
I
the
go and
time.
search for like somebody will ask me a question at work and I'll be like, "Okay, this is what I think it is. Let me go check it across a couple of resources." And usually the first thing that I do is I just go throw it into Google. And Google AI spits out a response. And here's the thing. I'm talking like hard numbers and like rules. not litigation, but legalese is, and I say, okay, how does XYZ function? And it will come back and it will give me a response, and part of it will be right, and part of it I know is factually incorrect. And so I'll go and I'll copy it and I'll just take a screenshot of that and send it to whoever asked me the question. I'm like, this is what Google says. This part is right. This part is wrong.
Yeah.
Here's my resources to show, because it usually does a pretty good job of summarizing stuff like that into like a digestible format.
Mhm.
But I go, okay, this part it's talking about is correct. I'm pretty sure this part it's saying is a hallucination is incorrect. And here's why.
So if AI is having hallucinations, we're all having hallucinations. Maybe that's been built in because we do all have hallucinations.
I think it's probably a combination of both. I think that there are questions and answers that are not at all subjective. Who is the current president? That AI has notoriously gotten wrong.
Yeah.
Joe Biden. Joe Biden's the current president. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's Donald Trump. Nope. Donald Trump was before, but he is not anymore. And I mean, there's all kinds of, especially if you get it on your right algorithm, you can get served videos and things like that, reels or TikToks of, hey, go look this up on AI because the answer is hysterical. It is so off base. It's so funny. Go look this up. And you're like, it can't get it that wrong. Oh my God. It just got it that wrong.
It certainly can.
And it certainly can. And so I think that we just need to be, and I think that the same applies for people, we need to be cognizant about who and what is inconsistent. I think that we need to be cognizant about believing those who are inconsistent. I mean, if you're going to go to your buddy who's a he man woman hater about whether or not you should or shouldn't be in this relationship, we have a pretty good idea that he's going to say, Cole, that's a bad idea. She sucks, whether she does or not, because that's just who he is. Because AI is just going to tell you what it thinks you want to
Yeah.
hear.
You have to be aware of the bias of the resources that you're utilizing.
Absolutely.
You have to be able to
Absolutely.
hear and to weigh one resource against the other resource.
Mhm. For
which
sure.
is which I think is hard
It is.
sometimes.
It
Sometimes
is
it's not.
Hard. Some
Yeah. I don't know, for me, I really started thinking about this, and I can't exactly remember where it started for me, but I started having this conversation, and I was like, "How long can I realistically hold on to something before I have to accept the fact that I'm being delusional?" I'm
a
masking it as
long time.
optimism, and I think that that timeline varies from person to person and situation to situation.
Sure.
Percent. Because there are some things, some opportunities that are not good opportunities that you want to be a good opportunity,
Mhm.
much more so than others.
Yeah.
I can let that banana stay on the counter another week is one thing. He'll stop hitting me is another.
I mean, but they're both kinda wrong.
Sure. But the consequences of one are much significantly more severe than the other. You can throw the
Yes.
banana away in a week after it's been rotting and it's leaving juice on the counter.
Yeah.
Little flies are flying around.
Yeah. So that leads me into kind of the next part of this, which is more dangerous? Having a false sense of hope, being overly optimistic, or being too cynical? What's the cost of
Mm.
getting it wrong?
I think
Hope.
that varies too. I
Yeah, I
I
do
think it
too.
varies with situations. I think it varies on, what kind of situation it is. Is it and I hate that we're, like you said, Callie, coming back to this, but it's such an easy example. Is the woman who's being abused, how far is that gonna go? Does that end in her death or her child being hurt or hospitalization? That's pretty serious. Me not changing a job, maybe when I should have changed the job.
But at the same time, in modern society, you not changing a job when you should have changed jobs could potentially escalate to something much, much worse. It could result in severe depression that ends in you taking your life.
It could, yeah, it could. And it could just be me being unhappy for a while.
Yeah, it
I
could.
mean, so it varies. So I don't know how to answer that question about Which is more dangerous? I think it depends.
I think the point should be it's not that one is more or less dangerous than the other. It's that the green grass is between the fences. It's somewhere in the middle. There has to be balance.
There
You
needs to
have
be
to say
balance.
there yeah, there needs to be balance in order for you to be able to appraise these situations successfully and
Yeah,
to protect yourself from the bad ones and to take advantage of the good ones.
yeah.
I think it's more than that, though. I think it's more than the green grass being in the middle, because I don't disagree with you on that. But I think that it has more to do with what aligns with your priorities. Is your
Sure.
priority to be happy and excited all of the time? I mean, there's that thing about you can only pick 2, good, fast, and cheap. Only 2. Doesn't matter what it is, you can only pick 2, right? You can have it good and fast, but it's gonna cost you. Or you can have it good and cheap, but it's gonna take a long time. Like, I think you have to be honest with your priorities. I want to keep my family together. That is the most important thing to me. So I'm going to deal with the rest of this and the fallout of this. I want to stay alive. I want to be financially secure. I mean, like all of these things, you've got to be honest with what your priority is and really drill down to what your priority is, and then start answering those questions. And if delusion is what keeps you in that, but to achieve your priority and to make that priority reality, okay, that's what it is.
Yeah, I think you're right. Understanding and identifying your priority is the most important, but then you still have to have that blend. If I say, well, I want to make a lot of money, but I'm so cynical about every opportunity to make money that I don't participate in any of them, I'm not going to get there. But if I'm so optimistic that I go and give $100 to everybody who says that, hey, this is a good investment, I'm going to be broke real fast. So you've got to find the middle ground there to be able to appraise the situation, but not so harshly that you avoid all participation in things that could be beneficial for you.
Good, fast, and cheap. You want to make a lot of money? Do you want to do it good, fast, or cheap? And I think that that just applies so squarely here. You can only pick 2. It's all the resources that you have to throw at it. That's just how the world works.
I think it comes down to you have to be as honest with yourself because even Kelly to if you're going to be delusional because that meets your priority, you still have to know that. You still need to know that. And therefore you can juggle everything that comes around in relation to that and stop spinning your wheels on just constantly is this the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? And I mean that where you're just you're not ever looking at what makes you happy or what needs to be done because you're so busy there you've got so much energy going into all of the extra stuff that you're not even paying attention to what the real reality of it is.
Living it.
Yeah. I mean, we're really
Yeah.
good at lying to ourselves about things. And if we could just, and I don't know how you do it all of the time, but being honest, and maybe it is just that community, having that community that you can go to and say, all right,
Am I
this is what
lying
I
to
keep
myself?
saying.
You have
Is
to
this
work on
true?
it. You have to make it a habit.
That's true
You
too.
and the two of you both know when I was a kid, I was terrible at owning my mistakes, horrible at it. Now I'm the first one to admit, hey, I was wrong. I told you this. I went and looked it up. I was wrong. This is what the answer really is.
Why do you think that
Hey,
changed? Did you stop telling lies?
Did you choose efficiency?
I think it was probably the choosing efficiency was
Mm,
it's so much more effort to try and
Keep up with the Joneses.
maintain this to to what's how what am I looking for here? There's a
Keeping up with the lies is more work than the truth
y-
will ever be.
yeah, it's that, but in a different turn of phrase. There are some hills not worth dying on. And if you're the one making the hills, it's probably not worth dying on.
So that comes right
when
back to what we've been
you can
talking
just
about.
get off the hill. You can say, "Hey, I was wrong on," and here's the thing. If you make the hill and die on it, nobody's gonna be proud of you. Nobody's gonna be impressed. Nobody's gonna laud the fact that you did that. They're gonna call you a delusional idiot. But if you say, "Hey, I was wrong. Here's the right answer," people have respect for that.
Yeah.
People say, "He recognized that he was wrong and he made it right." And they may not think those words consciously, but that builds trust. They say, "Hey, he made it right for me. He did me right. Even though he was wrong at first, he came back and he corrected it." That's really important. That means the next time I go to him for something, I know he's going to be genuine about it. He's going to be real about it. He's going to, if he tells me wrong and finds out that he told me wrong, he's going to come to me and tell me that he told me wrong. And he's probably going to find the right answer in the meantime.
I
So
have
I'm always going to go to him.
I have always said, "I don't know, but let me find out," is one of the most admirable answers that I can hear from somebody.
I use it several times a day.
Mhm. Me too. "I'm not sure. Let me check." Because I think you're right. I think that that builds trust. I think that that builds rapport that matters, that weighs more than I had a quick answer.
Can confirm.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back. If you continue to tell yourself the lie of "I'm too smart to make a mistake," or "I don't have to take ownership of that mistake," that's just a delusion.
Yeah. It's getting paid for somewhere, some
Yeah,
way, somehow, by
I
someone.
that's really good,
And
Callie. It
eventually,
is.
probably you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because if somebody else has to pay for my mistake, you better believe I'm hearing about it.
Yep.
And they're
Mhm.
probably going to want some sort of compensation for it.
Yeah.
And the faster that you can rectify that mistake, the cheaper it is before it compounds into a massive, massive debt.
That's another thing, and kind of unrelated here. But in those same scenarios, I say, "Hey, I think this is the answer, but let's not go with that until we can confirm it, until we really know. Let's not,
Yeah.
don't have blind faith in me because, yeah, I'd like to think that I'm pretty smart, but I mess up a lot. I misremember things sometimes, especially if you're talking about legalese. Hey, what's rule one, two, and three? Well, I might mix up rules one and two and combine the two of them. And then I'll give you three and 3A. And then if you tell somebody else those are the rules, they may not go and check. So before you take my answer, let's go confirm it. Let me confirm it with you. And it goes back to that. Have evidence. Be able to show the evidence. Not, I think, I'm pretty sure, I got a gut feeling. No, I know this for a fact.
Well, and I think that that's kind of where I feel like we've gotten a little preachy in this episode. I mean, that I think we need to just
Where's my
be
soapbox?
cognizant of. Yeah, exactly. And I think that part of that is just because we feel so strongly about truth and about reality and about failure, being okay with all of that. And so I do think that it is worth noting that hope is a great tool. It's not a lifestyle, but a great tool to carry with you through life. And we just need to remember that hope isn't everything's going to be fine. It's all going to work out. That's delusion. Hope is it isn't fine, but let me go see what I can do. Let me go find a path forward. Let me go check out some evidence here and figure out what is going to make this fine. Hope is doing the legwork, being willing to put it in.
I get behind that.
I don't wanna shit on hope because I think that it's really powerful, but I just think we need to be cognizant of the difference between hope and delusion.
Well,
Yeah,
and I was
you
gonna
have to
say,
know where that line is and recognize when you've crossed it.
yeah, you don't wanna just, blow smoke. You want it to have some kind of foundation, and we let go of that pretty easily. So, I think we just
It's
have
that
to check ourselves pretty
double-edged
regularly.
sword
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Mm,
yeah, and substance.
mhm.
Smoke is just smoke, you know? Where's the fire? Uh, mm, be honest with yourself. Ask questions. Go find the evidence.
Ask your
And
people,
if you can't be honest with yourself, find someone who can,
Yeah.
even when it hurts.
Yeah. Ain't that
Okay,
the truth?
especially when it hurts.
especially when it hurts.
With kindness, though, it's possible.
It is
You
possible.
can tell the truth with kindness and with grace. You don't have to just sit here and be an asshole, and that's the only time that it's considered truth.
Also true.
All right, who's got my weird thought?
I do. I do. I do. Okay. So I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I've seen it in the news a lot recently. There is a hippo conundrum.
A
So back in,
hippocatastrophe.
sure, yeah. I think that that's a fair assessment. So back in the 1980s, Pablo Escobar, the notorious drug kingpin, imported 4 hippos, 1 male and 3 females, into his private estate in Colombia. Oddly enough, Colombia is not a natural habitat for hippos. There
Surprise!
There are no natural predators for them. There's lots of water. It's a good climate for them. And because of that, they reproduce enthusiastically.
Of the word.
So those hippos, those 4 original hippos, have now ballooned into almost 200 hippos.
I had no clue it was that many. That's a ton of
200.
That's several tons of hippos.
Several tons of hippos. And as much as we like to think that hippos are just goofy water cows, they are incredibly territorial and aggressive. Hippos kill hundreds of people every year in Africa.
One of, if not the deadliest animal on the face of the planet.
Yeah, but they're so cute, but they're also not. They are disrupting the ecosystem there in Colombia. They are harming people. They are huge waste producers that are harming all of their waterways. And they're competing with all of their native natural wildlife. And it ain't going great.
Kind of like dropping me into a kindergarten class and calling it a battle royale.
I mean, it'd be fun to watch for just a minute. And then a whole bunch of people are going to end up getting hurt. And it's going to get real nasty real quick. I don't think that's really true. I think you're too nice for that. You're just going to have kindergartners climbing all over you.
I mean, if we're talking about no holds, it was an analogy. We're being delusional today.
So the government of Colombia has had to step in because all of these almost 200 hippos are causing a scene. They have had to find alternatives as to what they can do with these hippos. Should they just do nothing and let nature sort it out? Well, because the hippos are really happy in this environment, nature isn't sorting out. They are multiplying significantly.
This is how the wild boar situation started in North America, and we know how well that's going.
Yeah. I mean, a bunch of the people there in this specific area have turned these hippos into a tourist attraction and their regional symbol, and how they're proud of them even though they're terrified of them. The government has considered relocation and moving them to all of these places, except that hippos are huge and dangerous and very expensive to transport. And there aren't very many places in the world that are capable and or willing to take dozens, if not
200.
hundreds of hippos.
Hippo friendly.
Yeah. So it's the equivalent of trying to rehome oversized tanks with teeth. It's crazy.
Oh, gosh.
Angry ones.
Angry ones.
And they considered just neutering them so that they could stop the population explosion on here. But it's a massive undertaking.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a violent animal in the first place, and I think it was 8 or 9 hours that it takes for each neuter, and the country and the people were opposed to it.
What happens when you miss one?
Well, that's the thing. Number 1, these hippos are huge. Number 2, they're incredibly dangerous. Number 3, they are often submerged in water. They are very large and hard to tranquilize. And there are so many of them. So all of a sudden, you've got hundreds of hippos that they're trying to sterilize, and each one costs tens of thousands of dollars to sterilize.
Minimum.
Minimum. And that's if everything goes perfectly.
Yeah.
They have also considered, and I kind of feel bad, but they've also considered a culling of these hippos, killing a bunch of them. And scientists and conservationists have come in and repeatedly argued that this might really suck, but it might be necessary in order for this,
Likely necessary.
yeah, for the rest of this civilization of humans in this place in Colombia to survive.
Not to mention all of the biology other than humans, all of the
Yeah.
ecosystem around
Ecosystem.
these hippos.
Yeah.
Now, there was a guy, I don't remember where he was from, but who offered,
Yes.
a billionaire somewhere who offered to take a certain number, 80 of them, I think. But
We could do with 80 hippos, man.
how do you transfer? How do you transport 80 hippos?
He wasn't even
Slowly
sure
and
if he could.
carefully.
Yeah.
He wasn't sure if he could actually transport them. And it wasn't even a money issue, just the physical logistics of moving 80 hippos across continents was a humongous, very daunting undertaking.
It'd have to be like train and cargo ship. Like that's the only way you. I mean, were you going to have a convoy of 18-wheelers with 2 or 3 hippos a piece? I mean, these hippos are huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah.
I mean, but how are you
So
going to
my-
load them? How are you going to? It's all the things.
What are you
going to
do? Give them an iPad to keep them entertained? Like, what in the world?
Oh man, what a nightmare!
So the weird thought here is the ethical dilemma of it. These hippos did not choose to be there. They didn't ask to be Pablo Escobar's lineage of hippos. Humans did this. So who's supposed to pay the moral cost for rectifying this situation? Do the hippos?
I mean,
don't like the
unfortunately,
answer.
that is just nature. That's things kill things.
Not
Things
here
have to
because there's
die.
nothing attacking the. There's nothing that's hunting the hippo. It has to be a human intervention.
But the hippo is killing things.
Yeah, but not himself. Not the other hippos, really.
Of course they are. Again, they are
Not
one of the
fast
most
enough.
territorial. They may not be a predator specifically. They may
That's
not
what I
be
meant.
eating things, but they are definitely, unquestionably killing things constantly.
It's so weird. So this has been ongoing for several years now, and they just put together a whole new proposal for how to deal with these hippos. We'll see.
It's a sad story.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
was that a lie or hope when Pablo brought
Was
them
what
in?
a lie or hope?
When Pablo brought his 2 or 4 hippos in,
I think that's called selfishness. I want.
that could
I
be
want,
Yeah.
therefore I am.
it. Yeah.
It was delusion, pretty clearly.
But he didn't have to answer to it, so
No, he went to jail.
Not everybody has to answer for their own delusions.
yeah.
But-
True.
Somebody does.
Holy cow. I mean,
So,
we'll watch to see what happens with the hippos.
yeah. But that's that look on your face. That's exactly how I feel. It's like,
Yeah.
what do you do? So weird.
Let's have our good news story before we get out of here this week. Apparently, cats are a thing in Ukraine in the middle of the war. So we've got bombed homes, people are gone. In April, the Ukrainian 14th Separate Mechanized Brigade used a drone to evacuate a cat and a dog from a battlefield. Barsik, the cat, and Zagabluk, the dog, had been present in the area for some time. The soldiers were familiar with them. So to get them to a safer location, soldiers used a drone by putting the cat and dog in breathable bags and tying the bags to the drone. Kudos to the drone pilot who flew them a little over 6 miles before setting them down very gently.
Oh my
Due to the
gosh.
publication of the rescue, Barsik's real cat dad, a soldier recovering from wounds, recognized him, and Barsik was supposed to be reunited shortly after the rescue. The dog, a shaggy, furry little guy, stayed with his rescuers and is happy away from the front lines. So think about the many pets this war may have left behind in some way. One rescue group, You Animals, says they've evacuated more than 10,000, not just dogs and cats, but cows, horses, bees, lemurs, sheep. You
Mm.
Animal travels to the frontline zone about twice a month, treating, vaccinating, even neutering found animals, as many as 5 to 600 per trip.
Oh my
Ukrainians
gosh.
are helping to adopt some of these animals. Not all of them get drone rides, though.
Can you
Here's my
imagine?
here's my thing. We need to hook up the people at You Animals with the people in Colombia and start transporting some hippos.
Can
I
you
don't think they make drones that big, Gig. Not yet, at least.
I mean,
I
you
mean, they
don't know.
might. But can you imagine what it would look like seeing a hippo being carried by drone?
Operation Dumbo Drop. Don't you remember that? It would be those were helicopters and that'd be really expensive.
And you'd
Wow,
still have
that's
to
cool.
knock them out. Well, I'm glad that they are out of danger, the cat and the dog.
And they're being reunited.
That
That's really cool.
talk
But
about
golly, good
lies
on
and
them for
hopes.
finding hope in
That is a
these
debate for another day.
darknesses. Yeah.
Love you guys.
Love y'all.
Love you too.